Hello, my dear students, and welcome back. I know, exams are just around the corner. But don't you worry one bit. We're going to make this chapter, Biological Classification, so simple that you'll be teaching it to your friends. Are you ready? Let's get started. Okay, just think about this for a second. Imagine your phone gallery, and it has, say, 10 lakh photos, all completely jumbled up. Your friend's birthday party pics, those funny photos of your dog, screenshots of notes. What a mess, right? Now, how would you ever find that one specific photo you're looking for? You'd have to make folders, wouldn't you? That, my dear Butcho, is exactly what biological classification is all about. Now, instead of photos, just imagine scientists trying to make sense of all the living things on our planet. You know, there are more than 1.7 million known species. That's 17 lakh different kinds of living organisms. It's a huge number. Without organizing them into groups, studying them would be just impossible. So, who were the first brave people who tried to organize this massive biological photo gallery? Let's take a little trip back in time and meet them. The great thinker Aristotle, way back in 350 BC, he made a pretty simple start. He just looked at plants and said, okay, we have small ones, those are herbs, medium ones are shrubs, and the big ones are trees. Simple. And for animals, he just divided them into two groups, those with red blood and those without. Then, much later came Linnaeus, who gave us the famous two-kingdom system. Everything is either a plant or an animal. Now, this two-kingdom system was a good start for sure, but it had some major problems. You're probably already thinking, wait a minute, sir, what about mushrooms? They aren't green. Or what about those tiny bacteria we need a microscope to even see? Where do they fit in? And those are excellent questions. And that's exactly where the problems were. The old system was just lumping really simple cells like bacteria, which are prokaryotes, together with complex cells like ours, the eukaryotes. It was putting tiny single-cell organisms in the same box as giant banyan trees. And it put fungi, which absorb their food, with plants that make their own food. It didn't make any sense. So you see, we needed a much better system. And in 1969, our hero, a scientist named R.H. Whittaker, came along and proposed a system that became an absolute super hit. It's the five-kingdom classification, and this, my dear students, is what you really need to remember for your exams. So what made Whittaker's system so good? Well, he used 5 very smart criteria to classify all living things. He basically asked, what is the cell like? Is it simple or complex? Is the organism made of one cell or many cells? How does it get its food? How does it reproduce? And finally, who are its evolutionary ancestors? This was a much more scientific way of sorting things out. Okay, don't let this table scare you. Let's just break it down together. Look at the very first row, cell type. See? Only kingdom Monera is prokaryotic, easy peasy. Everything else is eukaryotic. Now look at cell wall. For Animalia, it's absent. For fungi, they have a special one made of chitin. You see? Just focus on these key differences for your exam and you'll be golden. All right, for this explainer, we're going to take a quick tour of the first 3 kingdoms your chapter really focuses on. That's Monera, Protista, and Fungi. Let's go.
Our first stop is Kingdom Monera. This is the kingdom of the smallest and, the simplest living things you can find.
Here's the most important thing to remember about Kingdom Monera. Its only members are bacteria. That's it. Their cells are prokaryotic, which just means they don't have a proper, well-defined nucleus. And these tiny little powerhouses are found absolutely everywhere, in soil, in water, even in boiling hot springs. They are the ultimate survivors. Please remember this diagram from your textbook, Butcho. It's a very common question in exams. The 4 main shapes of bacteria. The round ones are called cocci. The rod-shaped ones are bacilli. The spiral ones are spirilla. And the little comma-shaped ones are vibrio. You should definitely practice drawing this. So, we've met the simplest life forms in Monera. Now let's climb one step up the complexity ladder to our next destination, Kingdom Protista. I like to call Protista the miscellaneous kingdom, or sometimes even the dustbin kingdom. Why? Well, because it's a collection of all the single-celled eukaryotes. If an organism is made of just one complex cell, it probably belongs here. They mostly live in water, and they are super important because they form a kind of bridge between the simple Monera and the other 3 complex kingdoms. I am sure you have seen this diagram before. This is Paramecium, the famous slipper animalcule. You see all those tiny hair-like things on the outside? It moves using those. They're called cilia. It's a perfect example of a protist. Remember this one for your exams, okay? And now for our final stop on this super quick tour, the absolutely fascinating kingdom fungi. When you think of fungi, I want you to think of them as nature's ultimate recyclers. They are heterotrophic, but they don't eat their food like we do. Instead, they absorb all their nutrients from dead and decaying things. And here's a key exam point you must remember. Their cell wall is made of a tough material called chitin. And you see fungi everywhere, don't you? From the delicious mushrooms you might have on your pizza to that fuzzy green mold you see on old bread. They are all members of this amazing kingdom. So we have our 5 kingdoms: Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. But wait a minute. What about viruses? Why didn't Whittaker put them in any of the kingdoms? This is where things get really, really interesting. This is a classic, absolute favorite question for all exams, my dear students. Are viruses living things or are they non-living? The truth is, they're actually somewhere in between. Think of a virus as a kind of double agent. When it's outside a living body, it's completely non-living, just like a tiny crystal of salt. It has no cell, no machinery, nothing at all. But the moment it enters a living cell, poof, it comes alive. It takes over the poor cell and starts making copies of itself. So you see, it has features of both living and non-living things. On the screen, you can see 2 classic examples right from your textbook. On the left is the rod-shaped tobacco mosaic virus, and on the right is that incredible spider-like thing called a bacteriophage, which actually infects bacteria. Now look closely, they are not cells. They are basically just genetic material wrapped up in a protein coat. And that's the main reason they don't fit into any of the 5 kingdoms. And just like that, we have covered the most important ideas from this chapter. You see, it wasn't that difficult at all, was it? Now for a super quick final revision to make sure you remember everything. Okay, last question for you. Quick, try and say it out loud before the answer appears on the next slide. What are the 5 kingdoms of Whittaker's classification system? Come on, you know this. Monera, Protista, Fungi, Plantae, and Animalia. Fantastic! I am so proud of you. You have done a great job today. Keep revising just like this, and I promise you, you will do wonderfully in your exams. You've got this. All the very best, my dear students.